out to Ms. Mockup.
All right. Woo woo. So this is what your final invitation set could look like. There's the front of an invitation. This is a wedding invitation. This is the back using kind of a flower pattern to match. A thank you card. A sticker. So it would be a die cut of this shape. Just the pink is the sticker. And a return address label. Something that I want to show you quickly of what people were doing, and I feel like it's my fault because I didn't necessarily point this out to you. So say you're writing the Smiths. No, you don't have to put an apostrophe when you're doing like a return address label or saying from a card. You just have to say the Smiths because you're not owning anything. They're not owning the card or they're not owning you. So let's say that you are doing this for reals, but if you're going to post stuff on, you have to post stuff on your blog. So put in a fake address at first. There we go. Okay, so some people were trying to make any text. I'm just going to use this as an example and getting it centered. So they were putting their cursor here and hitting the space bar. The program is much smarter than that to make it simpler. You go up here to where it says paragraph, and you can just click center, right justify, left justify, and it will do it for you. So something to think about. If you already did the space bar, most likely I can tell, and I'll come around and be able to see it. So you might as well just delete that, go back to here, do this, center it that way, and then it'll be a lot better. So how are we going to turn this in? So the first thing we need to do, we need to make a copy of it. So you're going to do a save as. The reason why is the one that you just saw, I'm going to call this Mockup. That's what you want to call it. So this one that you just saw here has the bleed lines. We need to keep that. So I only had to do bleed lines for this pattern because that's the only thing that I want all the way to the edge. Other than that, this stuff is just white to the edge, so you don't have to have anything go past it. I have the little flowers down there going past it because those will be cropped off. So first thing we're going to do is go File, Document Setup, and we're going to take away the bleed lines from this one because we just saved another copy, so we have that. Then we're going to make a clipping mask over this. So anything that goes past the bleed lines, you're just going to make a box over the top of it, select all of it. It's already it. Let's see. And then make a clipping mask. So now it's the size of what the invitation would really be. Does that make sense? Because right now we're trying to present what a client would see and buy, not what you are sending off to the printers. So there's two kinds of things. So this would be like it's for sale for Etsy and you want to display it nicely. Now what you need to do is, I already have layers made. You need to have 3 layers. I will show you what it's like if you make the layers. You want to make a layer and you want to move it to the bottom and you can call this background. So we need a background. We're going to go to Google and you can look for a linen texture, a wood texture, something that's going to complement the style of your design and something that is not too distracting. Like this would be pretty distracting because the burlap, like the grain is really like big and bulky. You just want it to add like a nice little essence of flavor. So let's try this. Go to View Image. Sometimes they take a while. Open image in new tab, sometimes that works. So that one's pretty small. Although here it says it's 320 by, right. So you can open the link in a new tab, and I'm getting a redirect notice. So then I'm just going to go away from that one because that's not going to work very well. There's different bundles if you go to different sites that you can download. It's all right. Got a vintage feel for that. So you want to find the biggest image. It takes a while. I already have an image saved, so I'm going to use that for time's sake. But you want to be able to find the largest version of that image. So I saved one from the other class periods. I'm going to do File, Place. So, and it's in my downloads. I'm going to go ahead and place this. Now I have it here, and it automatically went onto that background because that's the layer that I had selected. But because you can make this stuff a little bit bigger because we're just using it for the web, you're not printing it, so we don't have to worry too much about having things be like pixelated as long as it looks good on your screen. I'm going to clean up my artboard here. So if your artboard's ever kind of wacky, that's one thing you can do to clean that up. I'm going to go to the transparency, and I'm going to turn this down to about 75, the background. I'm just going to make it a little more transparent. Now what it looks like where my artboards are, that it's now that same texture. So what we have to do, this might not happen to you if you're not using white, but we have to put in like the paper, quote unquote paper. So I am going to add another layer. I'm going to call this, you don't have to rename this. I'm just doing this so you get an idea of what's on what. I'm going to lock the other layers because I don't want those to really move on me. So I'm just going to go based off the artboard, and I'm going to make this white, and I don't want to fill. Because paper don't have, like if you have a paper, it doesn't have a black outline. The black outline you see right now is the artboard. We're going to hide the artboards when we're done. You still need to make the paper here. If not, you could potentially, we're going to be adding a drop shadow. And if you don't, you could be adding a drop shadow to all the elements. You need to make sure you're just adding a drop shadow to your fake paper. One thing I forgot to do is I forgot to make a clipping mask on this sticker because those little guys stick out. So that means I need to unlock this layer and follow my artboard. And I am going to select that, and I'm going to make a clipping mask. I don't need the text, actually. Maybe I drew, here's why. My clipping mask is on my middle layer. Your clipping mask has to be above. I'm going to drag that up. There we go. Now I'm going to lock that layer again. I'm going to go back to my paper, and I'm going to put in my fake piece of paper here. It needs to go down a little bit more, if you can see that right here. And then I'm going to view, fit all in window. Then what you're going to do is select on the paper. You still just want to make sure you're on the paper level for this part. You're going to do Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Have this say 1, 1, 1. Go ahead and have that say 75. You can make this say Darken. And you want to go ahead and find a color. I'm choosing like a brown. It defaults at black. But choose like a brown or whatever the darkest part of your background would be. So if you're using like a navy blue linen or a black linen, you could use black. But try to just, you don't want it to be too harsh. So I have a dark brown. I'm going to preview that. And then maybe I want it to be, you know, that's probably fine. You can make it more blurry, but we don't want to make it too blurry because we want it to just have more of a crisp edge, like it's a piece of paper. That's a little too crisp, I think. Do you see that? It's like a really straight line, so that's when I add in that little bit of blur. And you click OK. What's nice is once you've done that once, you can go to Effect, Apply Drop Shadow. It'll do the same settings as last time. Effect, Apply Drop Shadow. Effect, Apply Drop Shadow. Here, this one's a little bit different because that's my artboard. So I need to go here. I need to unlock this layer because I need my sticker to have the drop shadow. And I didn't have to make fake paper because the pink was pretty much like the paper anyways. Now I want to hide my artboards because I want it to look like that is just there. And something that you can do is oftentimes when people present, oops, I want to group. Now I want to group my invitations with my paper. Now that I have the drop shadow, so I can rearrange them nicely. Everything can be grouped now. So I'm just clicking and dragging over everything to group it. And I can move this over, send it to the back. It's not going to go behind my background because my background's on a different layer. You can turn it a little bit to kind of show like the paper's laying on top of each other. You can put the sticker here. You could move this stuff around so that it looks pleasing to you. I have not found a great arrangement that I love so far with any of my classes yet that I've done, but there we go. That might be all right. Those can overlap if you want it to be. And then what you would do, I'm going to unlock this. I'll go here. I'm going to screenshot that. Got a little bit too tight to the top of that, so I want to make sure that my screenshot is good. I'm going to group this right here. I'm going to group this. I want to go ahead and center that with each other. All right. Make sure nothing's like highlighted when you do the Command-Shift-4. And that would be the screenshot that you would post to your blog.